Hi everyone, this is Alejandra. A few weeks ago I showed you how to consolidate sheets with different layouts. All of those sheets were coming from the same workbook. Today I'm going to show you how to consolidate sheets with different layouts, but those sheets are coming from different files. If you like what you see here, remember to subscribe and let's get started. Here I have a folder with different files. These are the files that I want to consolidate in one table. The first steps on this process are the same steps that I showed you in the previous tutorial with the example of physical inventory discrepancies. For that reason, I'm going to go a little bit quick on those first steps. And if you want to take a look to those steps with more detail, click at the link on top, you can check it out. Okay, so let's go to a new workbook. Here on data, get data from file from workbook. I'm going to use one sheet from one of these workbooks to create a function and then apply that function to all these files. So let's say stores 1 to 3, double click there. The navigator is going to show me the content of that file. It's three sheets. Each sheet has information from each store. So I'm going to select store 1. I'm going to click at transform data. The Power Query editor opens. I am using Microsoft 365. And here, the first step that we're going to do is add column, index column from 1. My titles have been identified or have been assigned a number due to this index column. Let's go to item, right click, text filters, equals. All my titles are identified in one line. Here we have the index number that belongs to that line. Right click there and drill down. We have created one step that is called index to identify that number. And one step that I missed here on navigation, right click, insert step up there, insert. And the only thing that I want to do here is to call this starting point. Enter. Because after my index, I want to go back to my starting point. So I'm going to create one step after index. I can right click and insert step after, or I can go here on the formula bar, click at FX, and my step has been added. F2 to rename it, and I'm going to call this back to start. Enter. This step refers to index, so I'm going to delete that. And I want to refer to starting point. Power Query is case sensitive, so remember to spell things in the same way that this step is. And I can see it here as well, so I click there and press enter. The content of my sheet has come back. And now let's remove the rows above the titles. And I'm gonna go here on the home tab, remove rows, remove top rows. I want to remove 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Here, this is a hard-coded number. I don't want that because every sheet may have a different line or a different number of lines. So I'm gonna use my index step. My index step is going to refer to number 5 where the titles are. So I don't want to remove the titles. I want to remove one line above the titles. So I'm going to say index -1. That is going to convert that 5 in number 4. So I'm keeping my titles as in here. I can click here at this little table on the left and I want to use first row as headers. Great. Next thing that I'm going to do is have a column with the difference between the units from count minus units in system. And here I'm going to select units from count first, minus, press Control and hold it. Select units in system. Let's go to add column, standard, subtract. Now I can see that it's working correctly. 316 minus 326 is -10. Great, this is working well. And I think I'm ready to create my function. First thing, I'm going to rename my query and I'm going to call it stores, enter. I'm going to right click and duplicate. So this is going to be my function, my second query. F2 to rename, and I'm going to call it fx for function, fx store, enter. Let's go here to view, advanced editor, and let's convert this to a function. Here on the left of let, let's click there and press enter 2 or 3 times. I'm gonna open parentheses, and inside of the parentheses I'm gonna provide parameters. These parameters will refer to this path. That will be my parameter number 1, and my second parameter will refer to this sheet name. Okay, so here I'm gonna say path for the first parameter, comma, and the second parameter will be sheet name. After the parentheses, I want to say equal and greater than. This means that this is a function. Now let's change this. Let's delete all of this from the first double quotation marks to the last double quotation marks. Delete that and say, and replace that with path. This is matching with what we provided here. Now the second one, the sheet name, I'm going to select that just to make sure that I'm spelling things correctly. Control C, and I'm going to replace this store 1 by that sheet name. Delete that and Control V. Now my function is ready. This step is different to my previous tutorial. This is the difference between extracting the information from the sheets in the same file and extracting the sheets from different files. Okay, so from now on, things are gonna be slightly different. I say done, and here we have our function. We need to provide a path and we need to provide a sheet name. Right click here on the left, new query, file, folder. Let's call all our files to our query. Here, consolidating files, that is our folder. Say open. I have the content of my folder here, which is correct. And I'm going to click at transform data. I still need to do a little bit of work there. Here, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller here, just to have some room to show you the content of this. So my folder path is over here, and the name of my files is over here. But first, I need to change some of this information. Here on the extension column, select that. Let's go to transform, format, uppercase. As I mentioned, Power Query is case sensitive, so we need to make sure that all the information is going to be consistent, or is all uppercase or lowercase. It doesn't matter as long as it's consistent and we have that identified in a filter. Here on this arrow, click there, go to text filters, let's say equals, and it must equal .xls x, uppercase. Say OK. Next, I want to bring only the files that start with store. I don't want this lookup table included in my consolidation because it's going to break my query. But I want to bring that, and also I want to tell Power Query that I don't want to bring any of the open workbooks. So to do that, let's go here on this arrow beside name. The first filter will be text filter, begins with, and it needs to begin with store, because you can see that we have store and stores. So it needs to start with store, so I can get all the files from the stores. I say OK. So you can see now that we don't have the lookup tables, we only have the files that refer to the stores. Let's go to the filter again, click there, and now text filter does not begin with, and let me make this a little bit bigger, does not begin with this tilde. Okay, let me make it a little bit smaller, does not begin with that. I say OK. And now we have our information filter, so we're sure that we're bringing only the information that we want. Click at folder path, press and hold Control, select name, right click, and now let's remove other columns. Because we selected folder path first and name later, that is the order that these columns came from. Now let's merge these two columns, select both files, right in this order, the folder path first and then the name later, and let's go to transform, and let's say merge columns. I don't want any separator. I have the separator that I need already there, and I'm gonna call this file path. Now I need to add one column. Let's go to add column, custom column, and here I'm gonna say sheet name. Okay, and that's gonna be Excel workbook, open parentheses, and it's gonna be the content, file contents, this one, open parentheses, and the path will be this file path. So close parentheses, and that's about it. Close the parentheses for the file contents, and then close the parentheses for the Excel workbook, and I say okay. Now here we have the name of those sheets. You can see it here, and here, and here. Okay, excellent. So now I can expand, click at these arrows here, and I don't want to use the original column name as prefix, and I want to keep the name of the sheet. I want to keep the kind because I want to make sure that I'm bringing the sheet, and I say okay. Here I have the name of my sheet, because for my function I will need the path and I will need the name of each sheet. I don't need the kind, but I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna bring only sheets, just in case that later on I have files with tables or name ranges. So I'm gonna click here at this arrow, text filter equals, and I'm gonna say that equals sheet. I say okay. Excellent. So these steps are gonna be applied to any of the files that are included in that folder. So in this case, we don't see too much changes, but it's just preventing any issues in the future. Now we are ready to delete this column. We don't need it anymore. Let's invoke our function. And let's go here, add column, invoke custom function. And my function is fx stores. I need the path. The path will come from the file path column, and my sheet name, column name, and name. I say okay. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Now I have the content of each sheet, which you can see is consistent, and it has the additional column subtraction. Excellent. So I can expand. So click here on these arrows, and I want to bring all of the columns. So say okay. Here is the information that I need. Excellent. I can remove this column. I don't need the file path anymore. Just select that and press delete, and we can connect this information with the other table that we have in our folder. So right click here, new query, file, Excel workbook, and that is the lookup tables. And I just want to bring one of those tables just to get the cost of that discrepancy. So I can say product list. That is the one that has the unit cost. I say okay. Here we have our product list. Let's merge these two queries. Right click here on the query section, new query, combine, merge queries as new. And here we're going to select all stores, and the second query will be product list. We select item, and from the first query, item number from the second query. That is going to be our connection. I say okay. Here we have all the name, items, units. Let's expand this column, and I just want to bring the unit cost. That is all the information that I need from that table. Select unit cost, press and hold control, select subtraction, and let's go to add column, standard, multiply. Now we have the total for the discrepancy. Double click there, and I can say all stores difference. Enter, and let's go to home, close and load to, and I want to create a connection, and this is the only query that I want to load. So right click and load to, and I want to load it as a table right here on A1. Press OK, and here we have all our information merged and connected from all the files that we had in our folder. So we have from store 1 to store 10, And I noticed that I missed one step in our query, so let's go back there, and I'm gonna double click at all store difference, and here at the end, first I didn't change the name, I can say difference amount, enter, and here I'm gonna say this is gonna be difference units. Also, I want to filter this difference. I don't want to bring zeros. I don't want to do anything with that information. I just want to focus on those items that have any discrepancy. So now that it's ready, I go here, home, close and load. So my query is gonna refresh. Working. Now I have only those lines. And let me show you what happens when I add files to my folder. So we have from store 1 to store 10. So let me copy here the stores 11 to 15. Even if I open this file, you will see that it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sheets, and all of them have the same issue. They are not consistent on how the layout is presented. So I'm gonna close it. And now I add it to my folder. So I can go to my query here, or I can go to my table here, and I can select refresh. Now you can see that we have discrepancies for more stores, and these stores go from store 1 all over to store 15. Excellent, our query is working. I hope you found this information useful. If you like it, please give the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also, share with anybody that you believe can benefit from it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.